Other interesting political news, you have Vivek on Alex Jones Infowars. I stand for revolution, he says. And of course, it went viral because it is Vivek and it is Alex Jones, the most censored man in the world. Now, this is a quick excerpt from the interview, and a bold tactic to say the least, or I believe that is something that Mad would say, a bold move, Cotton, which interestingly enough, I don't think they ever actually harvested cotton. Interesting name, though, I guess. Nevertheless, sports ball metaphors aside, moves on the political chessboard, very, very unique. Very, some might say risky. The traditional cliche thing for every Republican is just go on Fox News, do an interview, maybe do a couple local interviews. They really don't do a lot of podcasting. They really don't do a lot of interviews. That's where Vivek is really unique. He's embracing social media more than any Republican candidate I could think of in my lifetime in terms of you do have Trump increasing his interviews when he has time for them, and in terms of trying to do grassroots marketing. But going on Alex Jones, who is very charged figure. People, they seem to usually love or hate him. And there's maybe two people who don't know who he is, which, again, by now, I can't imagine how you don't know who he is. But nevertheless, going on his shows with Infowars, that's very, very unique. It's even more unique, I would say, than Alex Jones actually coming on to Vivek's interview show. So to actually go on Infowars, I think in terms of moves on the political chessboard, this is a great way to win libertarian candidates, or rather libertarian voters. A lot of people in the middle who, they don't tune into Fox News, they don't tune into Tucker Carlson, they don't tune into CNN or MSNBC. This is a great way to address that market, I think. And when it comes to the quote before the video, and if you do have suggestions for the video and video production, I greatly appreciate it because I'm trying to find some new technology that will enable that. I've tried a couple, but they're not very intuitive, and truth be told, the camera actually doesn't work for the specific software suites I've attempted. So if you have suggestions, I appreciate the feedback. Now, before the video, Vivek types out, he says, quote, "We don't have 20 years left. Stand for incremental reform. I stand for a revolution." And perhaps it's dyslexia, I didn't read that right, so I'll actually repeat it. And what he actually said was, "Some stand for incremental reform. I stand for revolution." And he did also use the emoji of the American flag, which revolutionary flag would have also been acceptable, or perhaps the original 13 count. Nevertheless, it's a good emoji. I'll take it. And it's only about 2.5 minutes. So without further ado, I will play. And to his detriment, some might say, Vivek, unlike most times, he did not suit up, as every man always should, because that's how you look best. However, it is a respectable turtleneck, and many would actually say a tactical turtleneck. Archer approved.
How do we take out the deep state nonviolently?
Yeah, so you got to get in there and have somebody who understands the Constitution. We have the current Supreme Court right now that agrees with me on this. 75% reduction in the number of federal bureaucrats that happens instantly. Shut down agencies one by one. IRS, FBI, ATF, Department of Education, Nuclear Regulatory Commission, CDC. You can't reform them, right? Other Republican candidates will think they're really novel when they say, fire Christopher Wray. That's the least of it. It's a sideshow. It's the machine underneath. You have to shut it down. So against
that statement just won him thousands of libertarian votes. I mean, especially in the Second Amendment community, there have been people talking about trying to vote someone in to get rid of the ATF for decades. Shoot, ever since the inception of the actual program or the agency, which disarms and kills, well, let's just say, look up Ruby Ridge and Waco, the Waco incidents in Waco, Texas, and let me know what you think. But nevertheless, these statements, moving on the political chessboard, very, I would say, wise strategic moves to get that audience and get those prospective voters.
Backdrop. The Supreme Court agrees with me right now that the duly elected President of the United States can do it, absolutely, with constitutional authority. So this is our window to get it right. I give Trump credit, giving us that great Supreme Court. We win 6-3. So this is going through the front door, shutting down agencies, lay off 75% of the federal bureaucrats, rescind a majority of those regulations that are unconstitutional coming from that deep state. This is our moment to get it right because the current Supreme Court is aligned with us. Get in there and actually, it's going to take somebody who knows that, I've been a CEO. I know if somebody works for you and you can't fire them, that means they don't work for you. It means you work for them because you're responsible for what they do without any authority to change it. And I'm not going to be a passive puppet. And Article 2 of the Constitution says the U.S. president runs the executive branch of government. So yes, that's the way I'm going to do things. Get in there and do it. Alex, we got to do this in the first 6 to 18 months. If we don't get this done in, if we're not halfway to doing the things I told you by September of 2025, game over. Because if you give them time, you do this incrementally, boom, they've got you in a trap. But if you get in there quickly and don't even focus on Congress, I think that's a problem where sometimes you can get distracted as a president trying to pass legislation.
No, you're right.
Congress.
It's been the agencies making law, and you're right about the Supreme Court rulings. They said all these agencies making law and carbon and everything is a fraud. So all you've got to do is have the president put new people in or shut the agencies down. You're absolutely right. Congress has become a vestigial creature to the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy is the enemy.
That's exactly right.
So again, that got about 668,000 views in a couple days. So that's one of the most popular videos he's put out. And again, I think that's going to be a great way to capture those voters. Now, what will the comments section look like? Happy, sad, angry? Let's dive in and find out. Someone hilariously made a joke in which they have the old Dave Chappelle sketch from Comedy Central way back in the day where he was the man addicted to illicit substances by the name of Tyrone, I believe. And they plastered over his face flags of Israel as well as Ukraine. And the text is, well, the pejorative thing is, or the thing that he says in the show is, y'all got any more of those illicit substances? In this case, it says, y'all got any more of that taxpayer dollars, insinuating that more of your taxpayer dollars, or our taxpayer dollars, are going to those other countries. That got 19 likes, and that looks like to be the first result, or the first feedback. Now, you do have some pejorative responses against Vivek. Someone by the name of Tara saying, quote, Vivek on a short break from competing with Nikki Haley for, quote, who loves Israel more, unquote. That person got 16 likes. Let's see here. A lot of people saying they agree, getting between 1 and 3 likes. Someone by the name of Timbo says, quote, Vivek is spot on. A reduction in government is a must. We must reduce spending, unquote. Person got 49 likes. And I would say they have a good point considering the United States spends more money than literally anyone. What's the U.S. debt up to these days? That's a great way to burst your bubble, so to say. USDebtClock.org. It's sad because it never goes down in terms of U.S. never seems to pay off their debt. And eventually it'll be called to be collected. Now, it goes up so quickly, by the time I publish this, it'll be inaccurate. But as of this recording, and actually it changes quite literally every second, so I'll have to do some rounding, it's 33,685,993,000,000. Wait, I meant to say $994 million. So that equates to a debt per citizen of $100,000 per citizen, or debt per taxpayer, $259,103 per taxpayer. And again, the debt just goes worse and worse and worse. So we're gonna close that window because it's quite disappointing. Now, going on to more comments, someone by the name of, let's see here, Vox Mercus say, quote, I absolutely love what you did. No one goes near Alex, which is sort of a cowardly on its face as he's an easy target. But you continue to ignore danger zones, and it shows something incredibly strong about your character. And maybe it's not your time, but your time will come, unquote. This person got 23 likes, which again, I think is a huge difference between Vivek and the other Republican nominees. Well, shoot, anyone in general. How many people do you know who would go on Alex Jones' show? I mean, it's a very controversial show to say the least for many people, and a traditional politician would never do that. I can't help but imagine a traditional politician would be career suicide, because Alex Jones says some crazy stuff. It's quite concerning when some of that stuff turns out to be true, but another topic for another time, perhaps. Other interesting comments or top comments by number of likes. Let's see here. A lot of... let's see here. Someone by the name of Chris Saxman says, quote, "That's not conservative. We had a revolution. Smacks of desperation. It's a sign he's losing," unquote. Getting 9 likes. Which, again, let me know in the comments. I don't think that's necessarily a sign that he's losing, the fact that he goes on the show. Someone by the name of Stun Zed had a pejorative caricature in which you have someone who made an animated picture of Vivek and half the face is of a snake, which pejoratively is insinuating that he's a snake oil salesman. That got 14 likes. Let's see here. Let's see. A lot of people talking about Bitcoin as well. Let's see. A lot of people having the meme where they have Alex Jones for Speaker of the House. That got 37 likes. Let's see. I would say, here's a couple more that get some likes. William Schmidt says, quote, "I hate this rhetoric. We need quick, decisive reform, not a new constitution," unquote. I got 6 likes, and again, I'll say it for the first time now. I didn't hear him say anything about tearing up the Constitution, just getting rid of some of those agencies, which, again, those agencies were not even in the Constitution. The Founding Fathers would laugh at the mere idea of the ATF. You're allowed to own anything you wanted when it comes to defending yourself, your family, your country back in the day. They even had someone wrote a letter to Thomas Jefferson back in the day to clarify that, and he basically, in modern speak, basically said, "Laugh out loud, what are you talking about? Of course you don't need my permission to own that." Because again, back in the day, you had citizens who had everything from muskets to warships to whole groups of soldiers. And again, at the time, they had the best technology in terms of arms. But nevertheless, back to the comments. Someone by the name of Massimo said, quote, "The most revolutionary thing you could have done was stood up to the Israelis. Zionists have been the 5th column in the country for at least 30 years, unquote." This person also used the hashtag America First. They got 9 likes, which will be a controversial subject and topic is how much aid do you give to Israel, where I think many people would also articulate and believe that Israel is much more strategic to the United States than Ukraine, where geographically speaking, especially Israel is one of the few allies the United States has in the Middle East. And granted, we could debate pretty much for days on how much you should give and what's the appropriate level in this. But again, another topic for another time. I do think that'll be a politically divisive issue for the Republican nominee as they fight to see who will be able to perhaps run for presidency. I mean, right now, Trump is still ahead by all of them by a huge margin. But time shall tell. Let's see here. Someone by the name of 2V News said, quote, "Separation of education and state, abolish the IRS, abolish the Federal Reserve, end the drug war," unquote. Got 19 likes. I think those are all the comments that got more than like 1 or 2 likes as I continue to scroll. A lot of people saying, "Love you, thanks for being a true American." Hope Trump. A lot of people saying, "Hope Trump picks you as your VP." So I would say overall, again, you do have a couple that are against him. But I'd say, let's see here. A lot of people saying I 100% agree with you, Vivek for VP. A lot of people, let's see here. You do have another pejorative statement or a statement against Vivek. Someone by the name of Mikkel Angel. This says, "I don't think there's one word of truth in the entire statement," unquote, getting 2 likes. So interesting and very unique campaign idea to go on Alex's show. And of course, it'll be interesting to see as we go throughout the next couple of days and weeks, how will this influence the polls and will this help Vivek increase in the poll? As I think this will help him reach that newer audience that one is usually traditionally ignored in mainstream politics. You do usually have, every once in a while, you'll have someone from the Libertarian Party, they'll nominate someone, but they really don't get a lot of traction, especially in regards to social media and actually eyeballs, attention, tuning into what they have to say or their ideas. So it'll be interesting to see how many of those people have tuned into this particular episode, and will they start to transition their votes to the Republican Party. Again, when it comes to politics, it's really fighting for that last middle ground, because you always have the extreme left and the extreme right. They'll vote for whoever has that logo or that little silly letter next to their name. It doesn't matter who's behind the Republican nominee or who's behind the Democrat nominee. They're going to vote for that person regardless. So those votes are kind of locked in already. So it really is trying to find those middle ground voters and the people who feel politically alienated, I believe, as well, to really win them over. So it'll be interesting to see. Let me know in the comments. Do you think this will be a greater net asset to Vivek, or will be a greater net negative? So this, in other terms, or simply put, will this help him increase the number of people who are voting for him in these polls and then eventually become a nominee? Or do you think it'll actually hurt him and he will go down in the polls? Be fascinating to see, but as I would say, time shall tell. Thank you again, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Again, we're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of November, so if you can click that button, I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, the feedback is greatly appreciated. If you can put some comments in the videos, that's how I know how to make the production better and better. And that's how I know I do need to work on decreasing my rate of speech so it's a little bit easier to understand, and how I need to work on that stuttering to make the show better and better and better. Also, liking the video may help it with the algorithm. That kind of switches it up. It's kind of mystery magic. So that might help the videos get more views and might increase the rate at which we can invest in this as well. Also, and lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.